Very good morning, all of you. Firstly, thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Sunday morning. This is Ashwin sir over here, and I will be taking the session today of Arohan, that is foundation courses for ninth and 10th. Just to give you my introduction, this is Ashwini Kumar. I've done my BE instrumentation from Mumbai University, worked with RCF, a central government company, and then moved on towards my passion of education and teaching, and been there for the last 25 years, in which my specialty was physics. I used to teach physics and still pursue with the same subject. Now moved on to the management side, so I get very little time to solve and have some kind of discussions of academics with the students. So I head on with the academics, with the teachers, their training, as well as their lesson plans, academic plans, and so on. So let's start up with this very interesting session of Arohan. Students, before I start, I want that all of you just have a notebook and a paper and a pen with you so that you can make down the notifications or whatever you find interesting and important. You can make a note of that. That would add value to our sessions of today, and for you also to memorize and remind yourself that what is your goals and what you want to do in near future. So students, today in this session we are going to do these main headers, discussion on these main headers. Out of them, the first one is why do we need to start early? Then we'll discuss about why foundation course, right? There's a big question mark. Many times parents and students ask, so why do we need to start at ninth and 10th? Okay, the students have to give their entrance exams after 12th standard. क्या जरूरत है? What is the need? So we'll understand that. And basically, what is exactly a foundation course, which is a very important question to be answered. What is the benefit to the child? That's the more important thing. Okay, many times students and parents ask that, is it like it will be any beneficial for him in the long term or in the future? Okay, whether he clears or not any scholarship exams, but is it overall going to help him in his development? That's one more question to be answered. And the last thing is, what are the scholarship examinations the child can attempt? So let's right away start with our session, a lovely session. The first thing we'll cover up would be, why do we need to start early? क्यों इतना जल्दी स्टार्ट करना है? जल्दी 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 क्यों स्टार्ट करना है? Okay, I have my ample amount of time, let me just relax. Why do I have to do some things which are not in my curriculum right now? So the answer is, my dear students, a very important quote over here. It says, a dream without a goal is a wish, and a goal without a plan is just a dream. What do you understand from this is, all of you might be dreaming, right? You might be having some dreams going on, like daydreamings wale bhi log hote hain. There are many who do that, right? I want to be that. I want to become an astronaut. How about I becoming a pilot? How about I going into the medical field? How about I going into the banking sector? You dream about your final goals. You see some very inspiration people around you, make them your mentors, make them your life saving life heroes, and basically you start dreaming about that, right? That you want to become that. Now, whenever you have goals, obviously the goals have to have some kind of plan of action, right? And your long term goals have to have some short term goals to give you confidence whether you are moving towards them or not, right? So when you talk about goals, always there is a short term goal and there is a long term goal. Like, for example, if I give you an example like this, just moving out from the academics for a while. Suppose if I have got a dream of having a vacation out of India with my family. Okay, as a child, suppose I want my family, my father, mother, everybody, and myself to go for a big vacation and enjoy. So that's my long term goal. Now, what do I do for that long term goal? Yeah. So the first thing is, papa or daddy would require that you get very good marks. Your academics are very clear. You get good grades, right? So for that, what you do is you start preparing for that particular examination so that you get good grades, and then you can demand your parents that now I need a good vacation. You told me. I I promised you, I did my work. Now you. So that's like a short term goal. Why you got that grade? What was the purpose? The purpose was a long term purpose of enjoying, right? Or it could be like mommy telling you that you have to help me in my household works. You have to give a kind of a service towards that also, okay? Or help your younger brother or younger sister into his academics, and you say, okay, I'll do that. So that's again a short term goal. Why? Because you want to make everybody happy and make them convinced that my long term goal of a vacation is fulfilled. So what do you do? For that long term goal, you always try with these short terms goals, and you achieve that, right? And if you achieve them very nicely, then parents will also not say a no for a vacation, because whatever they asked for, you have done, right? And you have that confidence. So same way when it comes to the academics, like your careers, whenever you are moving towards your careers, first of all, keep that final goal in your mind, that I want to become that kind of a person, or I want to enter into that medical sector, engineering sector, banking sector, or finance center, whatever sectors you have decided. And then start moving step by step towards that. Now, if I consider that way, like giving an example, suppose I want to become an engineer. So if I want to become an engineer, that's my long term goal. Now, for that long term goal of becoming an engineer, basically the protocol is this way, that you have to get admissions into a national level or a state level college. And all these top colleges have got some entrance exams to be fulfilled, right? There are some JEE main entrance exams, there is BITSAT, there are some state level examinations like the Karnataka CET, the Maharashtra CET, and so on. So to get into the best of best colleges of national level and state level, the long term goal is like getting into those colleges, and the short term goal is making yourself prepare for those kind of entrance examinations which will get you there. Because this is the only thing, if you consider these college criterias, they require you to qualify the 12th standard, but they don't see the 12th standard board exam marks, they see the entrance score marks, and on that basis they give you your long term goal of taking admission in the most topmost level colleges. So if I want to get into these kind of colleges like the IIT stands for, yes, the Indian Institute of Technology, or the triple IIT, Indian Institute of Information Technology, NIT, that is National Institute of Technology. These are all central government colleges. Or I want to enter into the state level colleges. Like, every state has got the best of best state level college, like the Patna Sahib, which is in Bihar, the RV College and Ramaya College, which is in Bangalore, Institute of Technology, then Sardar Patel, which is in Mumbai, CEP College, which is in Pune, Thapar College, which is in Punjab, Bengal Institute, Heritage College or Institute, which is in Calcutta. So these are like state level colleges, but they are also considered to be on the top with a very good kind of placements and fulfilling what your long term goals are. So for these long term goals, you need to give an entrance exam, which is a basic level goal. And for giving this entrance exam, you have to have that kind of a preparation starting with you. For example, if I take another goal, say I want to go into the medical line. Medical line, I want to become an MBBS doctor, or maybe I want to go into the physiotherapy part or occupational therapy, or I want to go into the dental part. So many fields in medical, right? But then for medical also, to get into the national level and state level colleges, there's one single entrance examination called as the NEET entrance examination. After getting a good score in NEET exam, you are qualified to take admission in those long term professional colleges. Okay, be it the government college, the AIMS college, the AFMC college, or the state level owned government colleges like the Madras Medical, the GS Medical, which is in Mumbai, one of the best of best college in Maharashtra, Sanjay Gandhi College, Kasturba College, Bangalore, Government of Medical Chandigarh, Calcutta Medical College, all these are nothing but the government owned medical colleges for which you have to give an entrance exam. Here also the story is the same. You have to qualify and pass in the board examination, but they will see the entrance score in NEET examination to give you the entry to these colleges and fulfill your long term goals. Same way, if you want to go into the architecture. So if you are focusing on architecture, for architecture also, there are some entrance examinations like the NATA, the SEED exam. Also, there is JEE Main Advanced, which is paper 2, which is for architecture. This gives you an entry into the national level colleges, okay, where you can pursue the architecture courses, or you can go into the state level colleges. Similarly, if you want to go into the National Defense Academy, you want to enter into the army, air force, okay, short service commissions. For that also, the NDA has got a written paper as well as a physical paper. The physical paper or the physical education paper is more tough, but then the written paper has got GAT, MAT, okay, that is general aptitude test. These are the theoretical exams which are taken. Again, these are objective exams. You want to enter into hotel management? For that also there is an entrance examination called as, in which the subjects are specially numerical ability, logical reasoning, a lot of mental ability part. Means you can say higher order thinking. Okay, higher order thinking means like if I give you an example like blood relations, okay, logical reasoning, mirror image, all these come in this. So this kind of examination helps you get into the topmost hotel management courses. So here, what we understand is any kind of professional course you want to enter requires an entrance examination preparation. Now, entrance examination preparation is is only 1.5 to 2 years. Okay, means if you ask me, sir, for I want to go into the topmost engineering college. Let's say I want to go into the NITs, the National Institute of Technology, or my state level colleges. How many years should I study? And what is the syllabus? So I would tell you, my children, the syllabus is only for 11th and 12th, and you have to only study 2 years. You don't have to start studying about these entrance examination from 6th standard, 7th standard, 8th standard, 9th standard. No. Then what are you supposed to do from 7th standard, 8th standard, 9th standard? What are you supposed to do in the school section? In the school section, you have to start preparing for a school level scholarship examination, which is based on the school syllabus. You don't have to jump to the higher level 11th standard and 12th standard, because this is one myth which comes into the mind of many parents and students, that foundation course means I have to start studying 11th and 12th standard in my 9th standard. The answer is no. You don't have to study that. You will study that when you will study your 11th and 12th. According to that, you will be starting preparing for the entrance examination. 2 years is more than enough for preparing for this kind of entrance exams, which are based on 11th and 12th syllabus. But then these entrance examination, when you come across these entrance examination, the way these examinations are conducted is altogether different. Okay, so basically what you need to do is you have to do some pre-development. What is pre-development? Pre-development means, have you ever given a mental ability test? Have you ever given a higher order thinking test? Have you given objective test, maximum objective test? Answer over here would be, sir, I have just started, but not so much, because in my school, normally in the school, it is more of subjective exams, right? Subjective exams means like you have to write the answer properly, your handwriting should be proper, your steps should be proper. But then when these entrance exams come, nobody is bothered to see your steps. Nobody wants to see whether you solve that sum in 10 steps or 5 steps or in one step or in your mind orally, and you got the answer. Nobody wants to see your calculation. They only want to see what you have marked. If it is correct, you get the marks for that. So, what I understand is that when a student is coming from 10th standard to 11th and 12th standard, there is a very, very big transition. When I say very big transition, is firstly, when he is doing his 9th and 10th preparation, it's a very closed curriculum. Closed curriculum means um, whatever is there in the textbook, whatever is there in the exercise, those kind of questions are similarly asked in the examination. And he has to just you can say replicate, many a times replicate whatever is there in the boards or in the textbook or in the digest in the answer paper. It's more of mugging up. And I don't say that's wrong, it's a requirement. But I'll tell you, because I have got a lot of experience on academics, that when I never used to understand, suppose if I'm doing something in science and there is some kind of a explanation given and I have not understood, I used to by heart it. And I used to by heart it nicely, write it 10 times by heart. And when I used to by heart it, when that question used to come in the examination, I used to write same thing what I have by hearted. If you ask me something extra, I don't know. Whatever I had to by heart, I by hearted and I replicated in the answer sheet. That's it. And I got my good marks. But then that's what I said, a closed system. That doesn't happen when you're giving a professional entrance exams. There is nothing like a closed system. If you say in physics topics like kinematics, now in kinematics there might be some questions which are asked not from the textbook or some kind of a government owned syllabus. It is sometimes asked from something extra. Means the concept is that concept is what he is explained and understood in 11th and 12th. But the sums, the application can be anything. So is it not a big transition? In 9th and 10th, I used to just replicate whatever I have studied and put it in the answer sheet. But when it comes to the higher grades, it's not replication. Anybody who is going into by hearting and replication will totally crash in his 11th and 12th. And I have seen that. I have seen many good students who have got nearly 93 94% in their 10th standard board exams, and then in the 11th 12th they come crashing down, saying that I am not understanding whatever I have by hearted, I am writing, but I don't know what is it exactly. So I am not doing very well in the objective examination. So that's a very very big transition which I mean to say over here. And the most important thing is, uh, the child should not be under pressure, because whenever you are giving an objective exam means you have to be cool minded, relaxed. You have to just go on analyzing. Okay, you might have seen those serials, those episodes of Kaun Banega Crorepati, KBC, right? In those kind of things, when the question is asked, you have to analyze. You don't have anything, you have to just analyze. These are the four options, what should it be, what should it not be. Of course, it's much different from the KBC program, because here it's more of the academics which is asked. A lot of calculations also. You'll be given one single rough page and there only you have to scribble whatever you want to scribble. So what happens is, in one day this exam gets over. It's not like the board exam, like today English, then 2 days break, then Hindi, then Sanskrit, then geometry, then algebra. So if it is like that way, then every day at least you are settled down. No? You say, okay, my English did not go well, but now algebra I'll do well. It's not like that. Here, these entrance exams, one day, 3 hours over. And in that 3 hours, they are asking anything from anywhere, in physics, in chemistry, in maths, or maybe in biology, depending on what kind of competitive exam you have taken up. So, as I told you, there is a transition. There's a huge transition. Just to give you an example, let me see whether you can understand this. I've just put some questions so that let's see if you can understand what I mean by a transition. Like this question, a very simple question from the distance displacement part. A boy is walking 5 meters towards right and then 10 meters towards left. What is the displacement? Now, you should be very clear whenever I say distance and displacement. Distance is the length of the path along which he has traveled, like 5 plus 10, that is 15 meters distance. But when I say displacement, displacement is the shortest distance between the starting point and the ending point of that boy traveling. Like he started, let's say, from A and he moved 5 meters to B. Then he turned back, and from B to C, he traveled 10 meters. So his starting point is A and his ending point is C. And the distance, shortest distance between A and C, obviously would be 10 minus 5, that is 5. So a very common thing, means basically I'm not saying something very big. The concepts, what you have done very nicely in your 9th and 10th, those concepts will help you. If those concepts are not clear and you have by hearted it, then you will have lots of problem in this kind of professional examinations. One more thing you might have studied, that displacement is a vector. So is it going to be plus 5 meter or minus 5 meter? So if it's a vector and if I take the sign convention, considering A as the origin, okay, then it's towards the other side of the negative axis of x axis. So negative side of the x axis means it is minus. So the answer should be minus 5 meter. So many times students over here in happiness, they just tick mark the answer C. 5 meter is the displacement and they get it wrong, because direction was also to be considered. And according to the direction part, it is not only 5 meter, it is minus 5 meter. So this is what you need to understand. Like, I'll give you one more example. Suppose I say I'm moving in a circular path with moving with a uniform velocity in a circular path. Okay, my uniform velocity is 10 meter. What is the net or resultant velocity from A to B? Now, uniform means what? Uniform means एक जैसा, means constant. So uniform over here means I am actually moving with a constant speed of 10 meter. So my speed at A is 10 meter, my speed at B is 10 meter. But they are asking us velocity. Velocity is a vector. So vector cannot be directly added. I will have to see the direction. Over here, this velocity vector is tangentially directed upwards. At point B, the velocity is tangentially acted downwards. The vector magnitude of here and here, both places, is 10, 10. But they are opposite vectors. Opposite vectors and equal magnitudes. What will be the resultant? 0. Okay, so the resultant magnitude of the velocity is 0. So this kind of questions means here there is no rule or pattern that how it is said in the textbook it will come. Like if I ask you one more interesting question, let's see whether you can understand this. This is for all of you, for the parents also. Let's enjoy today your younger days. Okay, so a question from light. A ray of light travels from air to glass. What is the angle of refraction if the angle of incidence is 30 degree and refractive index is 1.5? And these are the options: 20 degree, 30 degree, 50 degree, or 70 degree. Now, obviously, many of the parents might have calculated also, and there are some school teachers also who are attending this session. So definitely you've got the answers. But just to explain our students and the other community, normally how do we do this sum? Normally, okay, this is a sum actually from the 10th standard level. So if there are students from lower grades, just to tell them, there is something called as Snell's law. Snell's law, which says that the refractive index is equal to sin I upon sin r, where I is the angle of incidence and r is the angle of refraction. So sin I, angle of incidence is 10. Sin r, I don't know. R, I have to find out. Angle of refraction is r. Refractive index, just note, it is 1.5 for glass. But many times I don't consider decimals. I always take it as a fraction. It's easy for me to cancel. So I take it as 3 by 2. Sin 30, everybody knows if they have done trigonometry basic level. Sin 30 is half. So half, 2 will come down, half into sin r is equal to 3 by 2. So you can see over here 1, 2, 2 will cancel and 3 will go on the other side. We get sin r is equal to 1 by 3, or 1 by 3 is like 0.333. So sin r is 0.333. And if sin r is 0.333, you can understand, see, sin 0 is 0. Sin 30 is half, that is 0.5. And sin 1 by 3, that if it is 0.33, means r value will be something less than 30 degrees. And less than 30 degrees means the answer is A. So this is the way we solve it. But there is another way. There is another way. You don't require trigonometry. If you don't know trigonometry, you should know the concepts. You have studied this in your lower grades, that whenever light travels from rarer to denser, it moves towards the normal. So if it moves towards the normal, then you just tell me what will be the relation between angle of incidence and angle of refraction. If it is moving to the denser medium, means angle of refraction will be less, angle of incidence will be more. So I is greater than r, or I can say r, angle of refraction, is less than angle of incidence. So if r is less than I, how much is I? 30 degrees. So it will not be equal to 30. And it is less than 30. Less than 30 means what? Less than 30 means it cannot be 50. It cannot be 70. it has to be 20. So did you understand? Means you don't actually have to solve all these things. You have to understand what your teacher told you in your 9th standard and your 10th standard. And that's where the foundation courses come into. Like, we just try to highlight those concepts which you have done very casually in your 9th and 10th, but you have not applied it. And once you start applying it, word by word of every content, what you have learned in your school will help you in your senior studies or your higher studies. So, is it not cool? So, I hope you've understood this. Another question, if I take gravitation, okay, many of you have come across this. The Newton's law of gravitation, the force of attraction between two masses is like directly proportional to the product of the masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Say I give you a question. The force of attraction between the two masses is 10 Newton. Let's say one of the mass is 3 kg. Distance between the two masses is 1 meter. Capital G, universal constant, 6.67 into 10 raised to minus 11. Second mass is asked, M2 is asked. Now, if M2 is asked, suppose if we substitute, okay, we'll just make a small change over here. There's a printing mistake over here. The force of attraction should be 20 Newton. It's not 10. Okay. So force of attraction is 20. So 20 into capital G. Now look at what I have done for capital G. Capital G is 6.67. I don't like these decimals. 6.67 is something like 20 by 3. 20 by 3, if you divide it, it's like 6.666666 so on. So I wrote it like that. Into M1. M1 is 3. Into M2, I want to find out upon R square, that is 1 square. Such a simple calculation. I think you can do it. You have done it, right? So here in this case, that 20 will cancel, that 3 will cancel, and 10 raised to minus 11 on the other side, I take 10 raised to 11. Such a simple calculation. Now, why I'm showing you this is because whenever a student is moving towards the 11th and 12th and trying to prepare for the competitive examinations, there is a big fight between these two things, the concept and the calculation. Concept comes in my hold, calculation goes out of my hand. Calculation comes in my hold, concept is gone. So these are the basically, you can say, the tug of war which is going on in the mind of students when they elevate into the higher studies. So it's not only concept. See, many times students understand the concept. Like I said, gravitational force. Oh, I know the formula. So it takes less than 30 seconds if you know the concept. If you don't know the concept, nothing can be done. But if you know the concept, it's just 30 seconds to apply that concept. But many times students get stuck in calculation. They put more than 1 minute, almost 100 seconds to solve that sum. Now, if you are putting 100 seconds to solve that sum, understand there is a race against time, and only techniques which are self-developed will work over here. When I say self-developed, it's not me. I am not going to put that idea into your mind. When you solve it, when you go on solving objective questions at your level, don't do any higher level questions. Just at your level, what you have learned in your 9th standard, only those level of questions in an objective manner. When you start solving that, you start building on your own techniques. And our teachers are there. Teachers basically will give you all the techniques afterwards when you are struggling. When they see you have done in a very big method, they'll say, "Oh, why have you done such a big method? Right? It's so direct. This is the answer. It was A. Go ahead, go to the next sum." So we understand. And these techniques don't come in one day or 1 month. It takes time. So the foundation courses are to be focused on this. They should not focus on the 11th standard and 12th standard portion. That you will do in 11th standard. Lot of time is there. 2 years is more than enough to prepare for a competitive exam. But the technique of solving, suppose if your child is not doing it and other child has started in the foundation doing all these things, he will have an elevation when it comes to the higher standards, that he knows some shortcut techniques. He knows that in calculation we have to apply some tricks. Now here there is a plus point and a minus point also. The minus point, I will tell you, many times students, they start applying these shortcuts in the subjective board examinations, which you have to balance, because in the board exam they will give you steps, marks for the steps. So you have to write all the steps. So that we always go on telling the children that please understand, objective level examination you have to do by this method. You have to apply your brains and do in shortcut. But when you're doing subjective exam, write all the steps, go as per the textbook in the board how they've given, and follow that. So he gets a dual kind of analysis for the same thing what he is doing in ninth. And this is what we do, and what we mean by the word early start. So jaldi क्यों start करना है? Why to start early? I hope you have got some idea about it. When you are solving so many sums in so many techniques, you understand it takes time. And if you start early, I don't mean that you slog. Please don't slog. I don't want that the children in 9th standard start studying 14 hours. No, every day only 1 hour or maximum 2 hours. That's it. Don't put much time. It is not under stress. Foundations are always done without stress, in a very cool headed mind, and with a lot of common sense going through your brain and analysis when you're solving the sum. Coming to the second part, the second question, why a foundation course? Many times students have this question that, okay, sir, I understood that we need to start early. I will get some books from the market, okay, some objective level books, and I will solve on my own. Why do I have to join a course and all those things? I can do it on my own. Now, when you do it on your own, many a times it happens that we start, then we have a big break, 20 days, 30 days, we forgot that book. We are not touching that book because maybe, some school level homework is there, or maybe unit test is there, something is going on. And sometimes we don't know from which chapter to start. Sometimes we start from the first chapter and we are stuck on the first chapter only, and we are not at all moving to the second chapter. So you require a discipline. So when I say foundation course is just a discipline. Somebody after you, somebody every day asking you. And that is how you gradually, make yourself, sharpen yourself towards your final goal. There's a small story which I want to add on over here. It's from the Mahabharata epic, that about a renowned archer, that is Guru Dronacharya. Once he was training his disciples, okay, and he called all the five Pandavas along with Karna, and he tied a wooden bird on a tree, and he told them, he gave them a task. He said that all of you have to aim at this bird's right eye. So he called them one by one. So Guru Dronacharya called one by one. He started calling each other. Okay. So when he called, so basically he started with Yudhishthir. He said, Yudhishthir, please come. What do you see? So Yudhishthir was only almost aiming, and he said, wait. I didn't tell you to aim and start. I said, what do you see? Answer my question. So Yudhishthir said, I see the sky, I see the tree, I see birds. And Guruji said, stop, go back. So he did not understand and he went back. Then he called next Bhima, and he asked the same question, what do you see? And he said, I see the branch of the tree, and I can see some leaves around. He said, go. And same way, like, everybody was turned down, and finally Arjuna was called, and Arjuna was asked the same question, what do you see? Okay, just pointing towards that side, towards that bird and towards the eye of the bird, he just asked, what do you see? And looking at his finger pointing, he just focused on what the guru is asking, and he said, I see the right eye of the bird. And to this question, the guru was so happy. He just said, shoot. And finally, the uh, eye, basically Arjuna, hit the right eye of the bird, and it was a target on aim. So what do you understand from here is, one of the biggest obstacle to being fulfilled and to allowing our consciousness to lead the path is our cultural and mass scale obsession towards something called as I want this, I want that also, I want to do this also, I want more food, I want more Facebook friends, I want WhatsApp, I want a smartphone, all these things. Okay, and you've noticed have you noticed that frequently you get impressed by those people who are doing multitasking, right? You might be seeing some good you can say great people, successful people, okay, and they are doing multitasking, and you say, wow, it's so nice, I want to be something like this, right? But then if you are going for that, basically what is happening is you are actually getting yourself well informed. You want to know this, you want to know that, all the things you are, and you know the communication around you. Look at the way social apps are working around. You get all the informations, everything is coming to you. So what is happening is like we are overstimulating ourselves, overstimulating. We are thinking about politics, we are thinking about corona, we are thinking about some other cases, we are thinking about some jokes which have been sent by my friend, we are thinking about some important interesting story somebody has sent to me on the WhatsApp. So what do I understand is there's a lot of multitasking going on in my mind. And while our higher conscious is at peace with the uncertainty, our mind always wants to know more, wants to shape up more, wants to control more. And this focus on outcomes may be why we basically are more into getting information. That's why they say the world today is of information. But the real impact of excessive information is a creation of tremendous amount of noise. Yes, I said noise in your mind, and not able to focus on one thing at a time. And you are not at fault. It is for everybody, for me also. If I'm working, there is my WhatsApp, which starts tit, tit, one more message, tit, tit, one more message. Oh, then looking at the message, I go into that. Let me answer him. And once I start answering him, I forget what I'm doing. And I've lost my entire 1 hour, 2 hours into that. So I call it as noise. It's a big, big noise. And basically, if I say this as a result of this, there are two very important related illusions which I want to propagate. The first illusion is that we are faced with an acute shortage of time. Time nahi hai, time nahi hai. We don't have time. Why we don't have time? Because of this. Because we are highly getting information, or we are highly informative, and we know a lot. We are getting a lot of information, lot of information. You go to YouTube, you get everything. How to make a chapati, how to make something, how to dance, how to sing, how to work, how to buy something. So many informations are there. So what is that? Because of that, we always run out of time. And there's one more related illusion is that basically because of that, we are terribly busy, very, very, very busy. So because of that, what happens is that when we start winning for wrong reasons, okay, any kind of a situation we start winning, we feel that we have won a battle, but we don't know there's a big war yet to be won. So for the poor students, I call them poor because there's so much of noise, so much of digital communication coming to his or her mind that they're getting easily deviated. They want everything in a very short time. But as I said, as I explained you, that in future, will it be like that? Will it be possible for us to be the same way how we did last 10 years back? I mean, just look at the classrooms today. I assume the classrooms are like that. Nobody is looking at the blackboard, right? Because there's no blackboard. It's a complete lockdown situation. There's no classroom. Everybody's classroom is this mobile in their hand, right? In this mobile, everything is going on in the mobile. This child is not talking to this child. He's not even sharing their lunch together. They are not even having any kind of a happy communication. Everybody has got that blackboard called as the smartphone, and they're studying that way. Now, here, what I mean to say is that you, with this kind of changes which are happening in life, you have to focus yourself, just like how Arjuna did when the final time of examination came and he was told to shoot at the eye of a fish, looking into the reflection of that fish in water, like this image shows. He did it in a very smooth way. But how do you think he might have done it on that final day? Obviously, he might have done a lot of riyas, a lot of practice, a lot of focus, and that is what is required. So, I hope I have answered your question about why a foundation course. Because you need a focus. You need somebody to tease you, to give you questions, to throw you some very interesting questions and to guide you that this is going wrong. Do this. You're taking 10 days to solve this. You should do it in 2 days. Your friend has done it in 2 days. So, those things are those alarms, short alarms, which help you to focus on these final courses. The next thing is, what is the benefit of the child? Like Faida Care. Okay, I understood. There's a foundation course, there's a start early program, but then why do we need it? So, just to give you a glimpse at our Lux foundation courses, starting early over here means actually an early transition to the next level. Means already he knows the drill, he knows what is objective exams, he knows how online exams are to be attempted, right? More exposures to the competitive environment, MCQ based objective questions. Okay, ample amount of time to explore, because whenever you want to understand something very nicely, you need time. If I tell you today I will teach you how to bat, and tomorrow I'll tell you I'll take you to the tournament, you'll say, sir, give me some practice time now. How is it possible? And suppose if there are two students, one of the student got say 1 month to practice cricket, and one of the student got 1 week to practice, who do you think will be more cool and more confident? The one who has practiced a lot. And when it comes to academics, it's not only practice, it's a lot of doubt solving. Means when you go into one chapter, you read it for the first time, you understand one level. You read it for the second time, you understand another level. Means the deeper and deeper you go, you actually open up layers and layers and clear that chapter into you. And believe me, students, this 9th standard, 10th standard chapters, these are the basic things required for your higher studies. Even today, when I'm teaching at a level of a competitive exam, I'm teaching the same old concepts which are there in 9th and 10th. Only thing is, I'm giving them some application thoughts, how to apply. But the basics are the basics. So here we train your body for the fierce competition, because the competition over there is for 13 lakh students, 14 lakh students. And also, if you give scholarship examinations in your schools, you get a lot of confidence. You get something like, okay, I'm special. I can do. I gave a scholarship exam, I passed. Now I can go for some higher competitive exams also. So the other key points are complete competitive preparation as per the board syllabus. That is very important. Means it should not be that I am teaching something different and your school teacher is something different. No. Whatever portion is there in the 9th standard, that has to be covered in the competitive exam, and that level of scholarship exams only supposed to be given. You should not be giving any higher scholarship examinations or something which are not possible for you at that level. Of course, there are some geniuses around who go to the higher level of some particular subjects. Now, that is an evolvement. It starts with the basic only. Also, we cover on the NCRT. That's a strict norm, because that's your Bible. So, as per the textbook, we cover the entire foundation. We focus on mental ability. Mental ability is a very important subject which is there for many of the scholarship exams. Mental ability has got, as I told you, like coding. It would be like alphabet coding. Means if A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, then what is 244? They may ask like that. Or blood relations. My brothers, sisters, daughters, wife, daughter's husband is called as what? Something like that. So we have to cover that. And of course, the objective test examinations which we go on giving. So when you're in the school, basically you can give the National Talent Search Examination, which is based on the ninth and 10th syllabus, which a 10th standard student gives. Another very commonly given examination are the KVPY exam, which a student gives in 11th. There's one more level which he gives in 12th, and one more level which he gives in the first year. Basically, these kind of scholarship exams give you some monthly stipends, which are given by the government. And these scholarship exams, basically what they do is they increase your level of confidence. So coming down to the scholarship examinations, what kind of scholarship examinations my child can give, let's understand that. Just look at this. These are the glimpse of what kind of scholarship examinations are there around for my child, which I don't know actually. There's a general examination. Okay, there's typically the National Science Education Junior Science exam for the junior students of science. Then there are specialized subject wise examination. There is maths RMO is Regional Mathematic Olympiad or the International Mathematic Olympiad exam. Then there's an English scholarship exam. There are computer scholarship exams, and there is others like GeoGenius, which based on geography part. Okay, scholarship on geography. So these are the scholarship examinations. Most of them are held by these kind of reputed institutions like the Homi Bhabha Center of Science and Education. Now, this is actually we call it as HBCSE. This is basically who promotes the many of the scholarship examinations around in the nation, like this one, the National Standard Examination. Basically, it's a stage one examination where nearly 20,000 students to 60,000 students give the exam, out of which 300 to 500 students are selected for the Indian National Olympiad exam. And from there, the students who are clearing, approximately 35 to 50 students who clear the National Olympiad exam, they are taken into some orientation and selection camps where they are grilled. And out of that, the most probable 4 to 6 students, they are taken into a departure camp from where they go into the International Olympiad along with the mentors. 2 to 3 mentors join them and they go for an International Olympiad. International Olympiad can be for International Olympiad of Physics, it can be Olympiad for chemistry, for biology, for astronomy, and so on. And there are many Indian students who have won gold medal in the Olympiad examinations. Another exam is the Mathematics Olympiad. It starts with a pre-regional, pre-RMO, we call it as, at the school level. If you clear that, then there is a regional mathematics Olympiad exam. If you clear that, then there is a national level mathematics Olympiad exam. And if you clear that, then you are again taken into a camp, training camp, and a pre-departure camp, and then finally you go for the international Olympiad. But this level, this goal starts from pre-RMO. You give pre-RMO, you get selected, fine. You don't get selected, you get a very good experience. Why don't you gain that experience? Who is stopping you to gain experience? Is it like that if you don't clear a scholarship exam, somebody is going to ask you? Nobody is bothered. It's an experience. You need to get that. See, your board examination, everybody is going to ask you. You have to put it in the biodata also. But then for scholarship exams, they are just a feather in the cap. You either experience it, okay, if you don't clear, at least you experience it. You are more matured for the next examination. When you come to your 11th and 12th and somebody says, I'm going to give an entrance exam, you know what is the meaning of the entrance exam because you have already given that in your 9th and 10th. So you are more matured. You will not just fly and say, okay, I will give an entrance exam. You will say, no, wait, I require this preparation, I require this planning because already I had given this earlier, so I know what is the drill. So that is what is required. Like, for example, the National Talent Search Examination, the NTSE examination, the most honorable exam, the highest honorable exam on the national level for you kids, school kids. Do you know this scholarship examination is conducted by a school? It is not conducted through any private channel or private body. Your form has to be filled and duly given to the principal, and the principal will be forwarding you for this scholarship exam. Let's understand this scholarship exam so that you can be more confident. The overall marks of an NTSC examination, the scholarship exam by the national level, is something like this. There are two subjects, MAT and SAT. MAT is called as mental ability test, SAT is called as scholastic aptitude test. The scholastic aptitude test, SAT, has got subjects like mathematics, science, and social science. When I say science, science includes physics, chemistry, biology. 100 questions are asked from the mental ability, 100 questions from SAT. MAT is something new for you. It is not there in the curriculum of the ninth and 10th. It's in higher order aptitude thinking. As I told you, na, blood relations, mirror image, water image, those kind of. Most of these aptitude exams are further taken in banking sector and in UPSC sector. So this is required in future when you are giving some aptitude test on higher order thinking. This will give you help. SAT, as I told you, 100 questions are there. So 100 questions, 1 mark to get a right answer. So 100 questions, 100 marks, and 120 minutes for this. If you see the overall distribution of SAT, because SAT is something which you are doing in a 9th and 10th, just look. Mathematics, just look at the total, only total. Mathematics, 20 questions. Science, 40 questions. Social science, 40 questions. 20 plus 40 plus 40, 100. Okay. Now, here's a catch. Many times students say, "Sir, scholarship exams, I'm very bad in mathematics. I think I'll not give." But look at the level of mathematics they're asking in this exam. It's just 20 questions, 20 marks. The biggest opportunity is social science, history, geography. Simple questions they will ask. And you know, history, geography is all knowledge based. You don't have to apply. There is no formula to calculate how many members are elected in the Lok Sabha. Either you know it, either you don't know it. Okay, you can't say that there is a formula to calculate the Rajya Sabha members or how many members are elected in the cabinet. Those are information based. And why don't you do it? Because those same questions are there in your board examination. So it's a win win situation. If you see the distribution, look at the distribution. Okay, from 10th standard, mathematics 16 questions. Okay, science 30 questions. Social science is like 34 questions. And if you see from the 9th standard level, this is the level. As I told you, it's a mixture of 9th and 10th. More of 10th standard questions and less of weightage of the 9th standard. To give you a complete analysis, just look at this analysis. Beautiful analysis. Green bar means easy questions asked. Orange, yellow means over here medium, and red means difficult. Look at the number of difficult questions asked in social science. There's no red patch. In fact, it's all green. Means all the 40 questions asked in social science were easy from the textbook, from that level what you are studying. In science, there were nearly 19 questions easy. In mental ability, 36 questions. In mathematics, 11 questions. Even if you go through the easy part and the medium part, you will get a very good score. When I say a very good score, in NTSC, a very good score is somewhere around 180 to 185. Out of 200, okay, if you're getting 185 and above, it's considered to be a very good score. Okay. Many of the students are getting good score, something like 160. But then if you are coming from a general category, not a reserved category, then you have to do it at the best level. What are the advantages of giving a scholarship exam? The first exam is that you will get the benefit throughout the life. How will you get benefit throughout the life? Because when you are applying for jobs in public sector, private sector, your biodata will be having that. You know, when I am going through biodatas, and if I see somebody given scholarship exam, only given, forget about the score, my respect for that candidate is more, because at the school level he did a daring of doing something extra. Also, if you score good in scholarship examination, there are many private coaching institutes in your higher studies who give scholarship discounts. You know, for doing IIT and JEE, the coaching fees is nearly 2.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs. Somewhere it is more than that also with integrated college. So in 3 lakhs, somebody giving me 50% discount. I've got a big discount in my future. Just showing this score to any private organization or coaching institute so that he understands what is my level. Talking about more advantages, it has got a huge advantage for students who are going for internship. Means when you're going for final graduation, you have to do internship. For internship, you have to show what you have done in the lower standards. So as per that, you get a very good internship, very good opportunity to start. And when you start properly, you will be in safer hands and you will grow properly. Not only that, it has got benefit in the NDA selection. Not only that, this NTSC scholarship exam has got a benefit of 6 marks added in their JEE main score when they are pursuing for IIT. 6 marks, you know what is it? Your percentile, your ranks will nearly shoot up more than 1,000 students above, more than that actually, because the number of students are huge. So huge advantage. And above that, if you are aspiring for foreign studies, there are so many foreign universities who actually interview you why you should be taken in my university. The universities ask you, why do you think you are capable to come into my college, my institute, my university? So if your biodata has got these kind of scholarship exams, scores as well as attempts, and these are recognized because this is national level. So all these scholarship examinations, understand there are two kinds of scholarship examination recognition. One is like a private level scholarship and one is the national level owned. So it has got high regards in selections. And the best part is, yes, an NTSC scholar always gets a monthly scholarship of 1250 rupees for his higher education. After he is finished up with the graduation, this stipend increases to nearly 2000 rupees per month. So why don't you give it? And above all, the experience of giving an objective exam is free of charge. Who is stopping you from taking this experience? Okay, one more thing. Suppose if you don't crack this examination, at least you gain the confidence for giving an objective exam, which will help you in the final objective exams after 2 years. Corporate also have got their own online selections. Companies like TCS, Wipro have their own online portal where they take online examinations and then there are interviews and other selections, pre-selections which start. So you are through with the drill. This is just NTSC advantage I have told you. Same way, there is RD Birla scholarship exam, which is the first examination which has now become online. So it's got an exam center also and it has got an online feature also. In this scholarship exam also, these are the benefits. There is a zonal level scholarship, there is a national level scholarship. Okay, there are scholarships on grade levels which are given, which is very important. Another examination is the NEST junior scholarship examination for the students in 9th and 10th also, and for the students of 11th and 12th. Look at the paper asked in the NEST. Force of friction is an example of which force? Contact force or non-contact force? Look at this last question as lubricants are used for what? Increasing friction or decreasing friction? I hope you know all these things. So here, this kind of examination should be given. Like for the international students, there is Indian School Talent Search Examination, the Kishore Vigyan Protsan Yojana, KVPY exam for 11th, 12th, and FIV. There is Homi Baba Bal Vedyanik Parda, which is for standard 6th and standard 9th. Has got two stages. One is a written exam, and stage 2 is a practical examination. There is a National Science Olympiad examination called as NSO. I've got the site's address over here. You can further go and dig it out and understand more on that. But then I'm just trying to give you a glimpse of how many scholarship exams are there. There is a cell called as Unified Council conduct. This conducts basically a logical reasoning or computer skill examination. So a cyber Olympiad. Here for a cyber Olympiad, the recognition is actually from class 3rd to class 12th. And in this case, it's more generic syllabus based on the CBSE and the ICSE board. So a very, very, very interesting kind of an Olympiad exam. Again, having here two stages. There's another exam which is called as the National Science Exam in Junior Science, called as NSEJS. NSEJS is typically for you kids. Eligibility is still standard 10th standard. and it is based on the CBSE and ICSE syllabus. Okay, you can get for more information on this website. If I talk about subject specific examination, there is NSEB. NSEB is National Standard Examination for Biology. This is for those students who want to go ahead and learn in biology. They've got lots of interest in biology, so they go in for NSEB examination. Just like NSEB examination, there is NSEC examination. What is NSEC? That is National Standard Examination in Chemistry. So students who are more interested in getting scholarships in chemistry and fighting to the level of international Olympiad in chemistry, they start from this scholarship examination. Just like NSEC, we have NSEA. NSEA is National Standard Examination for Astronomy. And the syllabus is as in front of you on the screen. Like this, there are so many more. The NSEP. NSEP is like the National Standard Examination in Physics, which is conducted by the Indian Association of Physics Teachers and the Homi Bhabha Center of Science of Education. Both combined, they ask this kind of examination. They prepare these kind of examinations for 11th and 12th standard. There is a Zonal Information Olympiad. These are for the computer aspirant. Okay, the talents over here of making algorithms and computing methods, these kind of syllabus based mostly on the syllabus of CBSE curriculum is nothing but zero. There's one more, the International Information Olympiad, based on the computer literacy part. Okay, it's basically on the CBSE portion of the information technology part, and here also the details you can get it from this website. There are some other private organizations also. There are some more scholarship examinations like this, the CV Raman Young Genius Awards, okay, which is given by the Vishwa Bharati Foundation in South. Okay, same way there is the national level UPSC owned NDA examination, the National Defense Academy or the National Academy Examination. This has got two subjects, as I said earlier, the GAT, which is General Ability Test, and the Mathematics. And these are objective level tests. Of course, after this, there is physical fitness and other things which carry forward over here. But the preliminary written examination is where you have to focus. So I hope you are very clear and understood what are the level of competitive examination. Now, coming down to me, I come from Lakshya, and Lakshya family over here welcomes you and makes you competitively and gives you a complete mentorship towards all these examinations, right from the scholarship examinations to the entrance examinations, which you are going to give for the professional courses ahead. Just to give you a glimpse, the JEE Advanced examination, which was conducted in 2020 last year, we had more than 125 plus students qualifying for the JEE Advanced and getting into IIT. We had the most one single digit ranks in the medical and engineering examination. Also, to top it all, the NEET 2020 examination, we had the best results, 92 students qualifying for the NEET and getting into straight into the government colleges MBBS term. We had a year called as 2018 where everything on us was raining number one. Yes, we had the number one AIMS student, okay, that is Elena. We had basically the number one IIT JEE aspirant. We also had the number one Vrinda Jindal, which was the number one B architecture candidate over here. Also, to tell you one more thing, Eliza was also that year the number one KVPY rank aspirant. So these are the ranks which comes to us. Talking about the foundation level, we had 8 NSE B scholars. We had 7 NSE P scholar. When I say P means physics, B means biology. 8 NSE A, that is astronomy scholars, and 7 NSE JS scholars. JS stands for junior science. Not only that, we had Olympiad scholars. who had cracked the Olympiad internationally. We had three of them in physics, two in chemistry, one in biology, and one in the International Junior Science Olympiad. Not only that, we had six students who cracked the Indian National Mathematics Olympiad. To top it all, this year, talking about this year, because this year was the most critical year with the entire academic year going into COVID, we had nearly 36 students who scored above 99 percentile. Okay, so basically, we actually outperformed in this lockdown situation also. And when we say we outperformed in the lockdown situation, is because of the meticulous academic planning we did, which is required for a student who is studying online. When a child is studying online, it is a very different story. A very frustrating story if you have not planned yourself and your energy levels are not high. If a teacher is not having a lot of energy and he's teaching online, it is going to be very difficult. Many of the students do not connect. Many of the time, students is in the bedroom sleeping and listening to the lectures. It's a big challenge. In fact, we have got a curriculum which has got lecturing, doubt solving, reasoning. We tell the students to become teacher and teach so that we have that active participation. And we have this kind of a methodology with the most experienced teachers. We give a Robomate recorded lectures backup so that they can see whenever they are free or whenever they require. We have a RoboSS online platform for testing, and we have our very detailed and very specific entrance as well as the board's notes, which we call as Tattva and the essentials. And the key to our success is adaptation. Basically, we just try to make the journey very enjoyable for the child and for the teacher. So, whether it is a lockdown situation or whether it is a normal traditional classroom teaching, we go on changing and we go on adapting as per the situation to make it very enjoyable for the child. To top it all, this year we had so many functions which we did on the Zoom platforms and the online platforms, where we told the children that today you will not touch your books. Today you will clean your bedroom. You will make your bedroom like a performance stage. You will dress the best of best today and you will perform, and we will all be having this kind of a session today. We call it as the happiness week. So we had to do this. We had these happiness weeks because students and teachers both require that kind of a break. So when I come to Lux, a Lux platform is quite different from those platforms which are actually moving towards the competitive exam preparation. The difference is making the journey more enjoyable. If you don't make it enjoyable, the child stresses up. And when the child stresses up, he obviously thinks that he cannot do anything. So we don't let that happen. In our course content, we give live online lectures, recorded lectures, study material, online tests and reports for the entire curriculum. When I talk about reports or when I talk about the result, that's the major part which all the parents should listen to. A report is more important than what your child is learning in the classroom. It's like when I'm sick, for me, if I go to the doctor directly, he will be able to just generalize and give me some solution. But if I go with my blood test, blood report, and the other reports, he will be very clear of what to do next. Same comes with the academic world. A diagnostic report in academic world is something from where the next correction is given to the child. When I say report over here means the report in which there is the percentage of attempt given. How many questions did the child attempt? How many percentage of questions he did not attempt? What was the impact over here of the accuracy rate? How many questions were perfectly correct and how many were incorrect? What is the impact of negative marking? How many negative marks he has got? In this case, what is his score? Also, what is his overall ranking? What is his center ranking? What is his batch ranking? Because all these things matter. Also, his marks compared to the average marks of the students, compared to the marks of the topper, and also compared to the average marks of the top 10 percentile. This matters a lot for the child to understand what is he doing and is he doing it rightly or wrongly. The time management, how much time he took. Just look at this child. Just look how much time he is taken overall, how much time he is taken for physics, how much time he is taken for chemistry, how much time he is taken for biology. I am very clearly understanding that this child is running away from physics. Why is running away from physics? He's given only 9 minutes for physics, 124 minutes for biology. He loves biology. He wants to spend his time in biology, but that will not give him what he wants. When I say the average time in physics is 51 minutes and he is taking 9 minutes, means either physics concepts he is not understanding, or he is not spending time, or he is not enjoying physics. So these analyses are very, very important to understand what the topper or average student time is compared to my child. And this is all in a closed door app. We are not publishing it. The child is not having a publicity of his score put on a notice board or something like that. It is his private app in which he can compare of every score he has got in the examination. He can also see question by question analysis, which is very important. The first question, how many got it right? If many of them got it right, means it was an easy question and I could not attempt it. If maximum students got it wrong, that means the question was tough. So that analysis is also very, very important. And this all is got from the testing. So, my friends, the biggest idea over here is, as I started from beginning and I go back to my beginning, if you have something like a goal, you think about something, you want to aspire, you want to become like that, you want to be in that kind of a world and society, then you have to come up with an idea on how to get it. And once you have got that idea, you have to start trying. Like, suppose if I think of becoming the Prime Minister of India, I'm thinking, I say it's a good idea. How do I work it? So I say, okay, I make my own political party or I join some political party. And then I try. What do I try? I keep my constituency happy. I keep my citizens happy. I solve their problems and I go on doing it. I may fail in the first election. I do it again. I may again fail. I'll do it again. And I keep going till I get the success. And that's how life is. So when I say foundations, foundations are those kind of steps where you do it again, do it again, do it again. And when you come to the final competitive exams, which gets you into the professional courses, you are more matured. So that's the key idea. That's my whole explanation. That's my time for you today. Here, suppose if you have loved this entire session and you want to know some more things, you want updates and informations about the courses, the benefits of the courses, the fees, the structure, when it's going to start, what about the timing, will it be a clash or not? For all these things, you can register on this link which I have mentioned over here. I'll just read the link for you. It says http two dots colon two forward slash tiny.cc one forward slash post webinar underscore 2021. You can go to this link and you can over there register, and we will be calling you back to give you the details of how these programs are run. And if you are interested in knowing something more, some more webinars, you want some more information, we would love to have an interaction with you. So I think I have taken almost an hour, more than an hour with you. Thank you so much, first of all, to the dear parents and the dear teachers for your valuable time on this Sunday morning. And also, my dear children, thank you so much for being here, for listening to me so patiently. So, today I just now finally sign off. Thank you so much. Please be safe. Take care of your health. Bye from here. This is Ashwin sir signing out.